What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Kingdom Business Podcast. This is the first 10th episode, right? The first 10th. And the reason, listen, y'all, it's a joke behind this. I say the first 10th because we literally recorded like 15 episodes of this podcast and they never went out. Listen, y'all. What you say?
Tragic.
Bro, we was in the bag too. Like we got some episodes. I'm telling you that you if you would have applied them joints that we put out, listen, you might have made, I don't know, you might have changed your whole life.
We might have to put them out later as just like some bonus stuff. Maybe we can clip them up or something and throw some bonus stuff out there.
For sure, because some of my best efforts went into them joints. I some of them joints we put up about 40, 10, and 10, and it didn't go nowhere. But I mean, it is what it is, man. Listen, we were going through some transitions at that time. These are excuses, so don't worry about it. You know what I'm saying? Don't even worry about the excuses. But man, let's get straight into the episode, man, because today, I'm gonna be honest, this is gonna be one of them episodes that if you apply this stuff that we about to talk about, I know for a fact it's gonna get you results, right? But before we get into any of that, let's just dive into what's going on in our lives right now. How's everything your way right now, man?
Man, busy. I don't know what other way to say it. You know what I mean? But in a good way, right? Because like all activity is not productivity. So
for sure,
you know, in a good way. Working through some things, of course, every day, trying to be, you know, a better husband, father, pastor.
Yep.
In the professional, you know, field, you know, trying to improve and establish some things in that space, as well as, you know, trying to develop myself, you know what I mean? And sure. so it's busy, man, but I have no complaints, man. I have no complaints. I actually learned about myself that like if I don't keep myself as busy as possible, like I won't do anything.
Okay. So you got to kind of fill the schedule up a little bit to really be at your height of your productivity.
Yeah.
I feel you. So yeah, man. I mean, everything's going sweet. You know what I'm saying? You already know my life consists of business. You know what I'm saying? I'm really getting to the point now where I'm just trying to not just be focused on business solely, but it's hard to do that when you building in the trenches phase. You know what I'm saying?
It's hard to do that when all that inventory sitting back there.
Listen, man, like I said, this ain't even, you know, we 400 strong right now.
You know
what I'm saying?
You know what?
Yeah. Listen, we gonna plug all that in there. Eventually, we gonna plug all that in there, but we are growing the biggest. You hear me? I feel like Ross, the biggest shoe company that's ever. Listen, it's not gonna be like anything else, and we're gonna get into that in a second because we're gonna really kind of break down because we both on this journey, right? You would build in the church, me with building the business. Like we on this journey, and it's funny because our journeys kind of started at similar times, really the same time, kind of, and we've kind of gone through similar phases. Even though your occupation is ministry based, mine is business based or profit based or whatever. There's a lot of similarities there, right? And this is what this podcast is about. It's kind of about the similarities between the two because you can't have one without the other, really. Yeah. And I was saying this to myself earlier, man, like I don't see how anybody can do entrepreneurship without God. I don't see it. Like I know there's people that do it, and I'm like, I don't know how you're doing it because it's literally, to me, it's been more of a spiritual journey than anything. Like if you're not progressing spiritually, I don't even know how you even progress in the business aspect. But we'll get into all that. I'm giving y'all a little bit before we get into it, but we do have a segment on this podcast called You Know What's Crazy. Do you remember this segment?
I
It's
remember.
been a while since we recorded.
I
But
remember.
so I ask you, you know what's crazy, you call back what's crazy, right? So you know what's crazy.
What's that?
So I don't know if it's just me, but when we were kids, right? When we were kids, I felt like I had a timeline down. Like by the time I'm this age, I have life figured out. You know what I'm saying? Like I felt like okay, I don't know when you were like a teenager, did you feel like, yo, when I'm 30, I'll be here, this, I'm gonna have this. You know what I'm saying? I felt like I was gonna have life figured out. But I came to find out, and let me know if you agree, life is an unsolvable problem, bro.
Yeah. I
Or
mean,
equation. Let me say equation, not problem.
well, I would say that life is a series of solvable equations.
Okay. Okay.
Because like you eventually, so if we're talking equations, like we understand like the introduction to math is 1 + 1, right? Like
Right,
that's,
right.
and every year like you add on to that, but like you get a different set of problems, and the set of problems in second grade are harder than the set of problems from first grade.
True.
You know, fifth grade math is harder than fourth grade math, right? And so, but you're essentially adding on to the 1 + 1 principle, right? Like that's essentially what you're doing, and I think that that's what life is, man. Like it's just this continual series of like, okay, here's the new equation, and if you didn't take, you know, 2013 life, then you're not gonna have the foundation to take 2016 life. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like,
I get that. I get that. I get that. I guess what I'm saying is like I said, there was a certain point, like I maybe just I was naive. I don't know, but there was a certain point when I was growing up, like, yo, by 30, for sure, we're gonna have this thing figured out. And I'm learning that, like you said, as you progress throughout the stages and you pass life 2020 and life 2019, you really, as you progress through there, you realize that it is going to be an ongoing process. Like you're never just going to have it all figured out, even when things are clicking and you're not necessarily facing some of the stuff that you did before.
mm-hmm.
You're still going to be faced with new things. So there's never a point where it's all figured out.
Yeah, because like, I mean, you think about it, man. Like some professions, you can go and you can get your degree, whatever level of degree, associates, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, whatever. There's some professions you can go and get your degree, and once you've got it, you've got it.
Yeah.
But then there's some professions that like, yeah, you got your degree, but like you got to go back to school every so often and renew your certification, and or learn the new techniques and the new methods and the, you know what I'm saying? And so I think that that's what life is, man. Like, so it's like we had this idea like, oh yeah, I'm gonna have this and this and this about this age, and whether or not you have it is one thing, but then also understanding like, even if it went exactly the way you did, like if we stop in that, just using your example, like if we stop in at age 30, like what are you doing with the rest of life? Like you still got to go and renew that certification. You still got to go and get, learn the new processes and procedures. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, but to your point, man, I think for me, like when you think about just your perspective on life at a young age, like just the simple fact that like, bro, we thought 30 was old.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we thought that 30 was the appropriate age to have life figured out.
Right, right.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then you turn 30 and you like, I'm
still a kid dang near.
like I'm kind of just reaching my prime. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like I'm just starting my prime at 30. You know what I'm saying? So, but what's interesting is, what's crazy is that I don't think that our I don't think that the dreams and the points that we had were off. Just the time frame was off.
Yeah, for sure. And
You know?
listen, man, and listen. Y'all may have forgot. Y'all may have forgot because it's been a while since we podcasted. But your boy's still the segue king. You feel me? And that was the perfect segue into what we want to talk about today. So, and you don't know what we're going to talk about. He never knows what we're going to talk about when we come on here. He never knows. We don't discuss. We don't have no behind the scenes meeting before we do the podcast. But we're as a church, like we're in this series of the builder, right? And I think what you just described is the person who's on that lifelong journey of building, because it may be for some people, they may have it figured out at 30 because, you know, they had goals that they wanted to reach. They reached those goals and they're okay and comfortable with where they are and what they've built. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for us, we have decided that this building process is a lifelong thing. Like I was telling my wife the other day, bro, I was like, you know, I don't think there's an end point for what I want to do. Like, yeah, we want to build RIB to the biggest shoe company in the world, but I also want to build other businesses. I also want to help people build businesses. I also want to get into building community centers. There's no end to it. So go ahead.
Keep going.
No, I was just saying there's no end to it. But the thing that we have to, I think how we come to that conclusion is by asking ourselves this question. And when we were growing up, I'm setting this thing up. Let me set it up real quick, right? When we were growing up, I think the reason why we had that mindset of 30 or whatever, we have it figured out because we were asked the wrong questions growing up. We were asked, what do you want to be? What do you want to be? So I'm thinking, whatever answer I'm giving them at the time, I'm thinking, yeah, I'll have that by 30. You see what I'm saying? I'll have that degree. I'll have this whatever. Now, your boy didn't get no degree. You know what I'm saying? Didn't get no degree. But when I was at school, that's what I was saying. So I think that's why I had that mindset. But I literally today years old, right? This week years old, this month years old, when I realized that that's the wrong question to ask yourself. The question that you should ask yourself and answer, who do you want to be? And when you get that, that's when you realize either I'm going to be a lifelong builder or I'm going to build something, I'm going to be okay with it. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think that, and I've been saying over the past couple of weeks with this builder series, that this is not the series for everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now somebody might be listening to it and it's not for them. And 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, it may be at that point, right? Right? It's not for everybody. It's for builders. And here's why I say that. When you talk about asking the question, who do you want to be and things like that, here's the reality, man. The reality is builders are going to build.
Yeah. So
it doesn't matter when a particular project is complete. If I'm a builder, I'm either going to find a way to continue to build onto that and make it better, or I'm going to start and build something else. Like builders are going to build, right? So it's like the construction workers don't retire after one completed project. As a matter of fact, the office people in the construction company, they know what the next project's going to be before this one's even done.
Yep, they got a whole line lined up. Other projects for the year or the projects for the
You see what I'm saying? And so there's no there is no turnoff for the builder, because if I'm a builder, let me rewind real quick. One, I think that it's important, and you can probably speak to this a little bit better than I can, but there's a difference between a builder and a businessman.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that builder, once I've built the business itself is not enough to sustain me.
Right.
Because at a certain point, you get to a certain point with a business where the business is in large part, not completely, but in large part self-sustainable, right? You just need to monitor and manage it. But if I'm a builder, that's not fulfilling.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is why like like builders always have multiple things going on. You know what I'm saying? So if a person is what I refer to as a serial entrepreneur, is probably because they're a builder. So once the business gets to a certain level and it's been built up, it's just like a building. Once the building is built, what you use it for is not the job of the construction company.
Mm-hmm.
They don't determine what it's used for. It's their job to build it. So if somebody's a serial entrepreneur, they're probably a builder. And I want to build a business, not necessarily manage a business.
Yeah. And I think it all goes back to that question, right? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I've spent some time with this question because first, okay, so I think it was at the top of the year. I can't remember when it actually dropped, but there was this book that I read called Your Next Five Moves, right? And and it's a business strategy book, but it's the very first chapter. That's the very first thing he asks is who do you want to be, right? Not what, but who. And the reason why that's so important to ask because it gives you an insight on how far you're willing to go, right? Because for everybody, you may want a stopping point. You may want to get to a certain dollar amount, and be smart with that, invest that, and then chill out on the island or do what, you know what I'm saying, or chill out on vacation or get you a beach house and chill out with your wife and your kids. Like that's okay. And that's the reason why that question is so important because it gives you a landscape on how you want to create your life. You see what I'm saying? And I don't think we ever spend enough time with that, right? I don't think we ever spend enough time because the conclusion that I came to is I want to be the best. Like I want to go down as one of those historic entrepreneurs. You see what I'm saying? I'm talking about your Reginald F. Lewis's. I'm talking about you know what I'm saying? Like I want to be, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you create something that's so like that, like Apple or something like that. It just means that I'm going to go after being the best business person I can possibly be with building this. Like you touched on like being a serial entrepreneur or whatever, right? And I think a lot of people approach that the wrong way, right? Because some people are builders, but they're not focused. And then they try to do a bunch of different things at once and it doesn't work. Like, you know what I'm saying? They try to make multiple income or streams of income and they only got a puddle. You see what I'm saying? But there is something to be said about those people, like you said, that will continue to build. I think those are the people who have decided. Like you look at some of the greats that we look at, like Kobe. That man decided he was going to be the best in basketball. And then when he got done with basketball, of course, he passed away a couple years later. But then he had decided that he wanted to be the best at storytelling. So with that decision came the willing to make certain sacrifices. The willingness to make certain sacrifices, the willingness to sit down with your wife and your kids and not be egging them on saying, well, y'all my top priority, or I'm gonna give all my time to y'all. But really you in the garage doing work all day because you haven't decided who you want to be yet. You see what I'm saying? You haven't decided. You haven't made that decision in your mind that this is who I am, and I got to get the people around me to understand this is who I am. So I got to get the people around me to understand this is what I'm trying to build. Go ahead.
So I would say, and I mentioned this last night in the recharge, as well as this past Sunday, determination is a decision.
Yeah.
It's a choice. Determination, being determined isn't about skill. It's not about talent. It's not even about ability. Determination is literally you've made a decision that whatever it is you're attempting to accomplish, that you're not going to stop until it's done.
Yeah.
Like it's literally a choice. So if I'm determined to, let's say, I'll use this example. Like I tell people all the time, I ran cross country in high school and was terrible. I came in and last or close to it and more meets than not. Right. But my determination was to finish. And then, but I knew that there was a bigger picture. So I'm not telling anybody to settle for losing. But my goal for running cross country had nothing to do with winning a cross country meet.
Right.
My goal for cross country was to be in better shape than any basketball player that I played against.
And you decided that's who you wanted at that time, you know.
I decided that that's what I wanted. So I knew in order to do that, even if I lost this meet, I've got to finish.
Absolutely.
Right. So the determination piece of it is determination is the decision. Now, working backward to what you were saying about knowing who you want to be and things like that, and being able to determine how you navigate. I think that a lot of times, and this is something that really began to hit home as I began to coach, is that most people are on a journey with no destination.
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is, whether you're walking, riding a bike, in a car, or in a plane, this iPhone will tell me how to get to wherever I want to go to.
Yep.
But if I don't put in a destination first,
yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of people just joyriding.
For sure.
Driving with no destination, that's a joyride.
To be honest, man, if we were to do percentages, I think there's a large majority that's on that end of it versus I've decided who I want to be and this is who I'm going to be. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we've been conditioned to think that way. We've been conditioned to think that there is an end, like I become this and this is it. You see what I'm saying? But when you literally decide who you want, like I want people to understand like how important that question really is and how much clarity it'll add to your life. Like you said, there's a lot of people who are on that journey who don't have the destination in mind, right? But when you sit down and you ask yourself, who do I want to be? Like who? You see what I'm saying? Like who? Like we talking about character. We talking about values. We talking about principles. We're talking about like literally being okay with whatever comes with who you want to be. Right? So here's the thing. You heard me say, I want to be that legendary entrepreneur. Okay. I can't say that and then turn around and not want to do the work to be legendary. You see what I'm saying? I can't say that and not be okay with everything that comes with that, because every legendary entrepreneur has faced some crazy stuff. So when the crazy stuff come, I can't say, God, woe is me. Why? No, you wanted to be the legendary entrepreneur. You see what I'm saying? You wanted to be this. You decided that's who you wanted to be. You could have just been, you could have just stayed in the army and rolled that out. Now you would still had your challenges, but you can do that and you can retire. But you decided you wanted to be this.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important for the person that's listening right now to decide who you want to be. Like literally spend some time with this, make a list, or even more powerful. And tell me from a coach's perspective, tell me, what do you think about this? Even if you can't answer that question right now, why not answer the question, who don't you want to be?
Yeah, no, for sure. So, obviously you're the business half of this podcast, and I'll be the kingdom half of the podcast. So I think this best answers the question. I heard this yesterday. Shout out to Pastor Mark Moore Jr. I was listening to a podcast that he was on, and he brought up this point, this perspective that I think was so powerful, man. He said, when God was talking to Abraham, he tells Abraham, and I'll make your name great. This is Genesis 12:2, right? He tells him, I'll make your name great. The point that Pastor Mark Moore was making was God didn't say anything about Abraham's title. He says, I'll make your name great. So to your point, you're talking about the difference between what you are and who you are. What do you want to be versus who you want to be? What you are is a title, right? Like Pastor Jay, like that's a title.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's a title. Pastoring is being a pastor, that's a title. But who am I, right? Like so when God says, I'll make your name great, he says, I'm gonna make you great because of who you are, not because of what you are. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes we allow, and a part of it is, sociological, like it's a societal thing, for us to get caught up into the titles and the what. Like, right? Like, especially men, bro. Like, we meet somebody, you know what I mean? If me and you met for the first time, you know what I'm saying? Even if we cool, like we shake up, we shake hands, hey man, what you do? What you do for a living? It's one of the first things we ask.
Yeah.
Watch this. That's one of the first things that we ask that we actually want to hear the answer to. Because the first thing we ask is, hey, how you doing, bro? But we keep talking. We ain't even waiting to hear.
That's just small talk.
That's just something you say. Like, we don't really expect somebody to answer the question.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now you ain't asked me who I am or how I am. When you asked me how I am, you didn't really care to hear the answer. You didn't ask me who I am. The first thing you want to actually know is, what do you do?
Yeah.
And what I do, I mean, listen, I know that pastoring is my calling, but that's what I do, and I've done that for far less time than I've been who I am.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And when I retire from pastoring, I still got to be who I am. You know what I mean? So I think that you right on with, that idea of putting the emphasis on who versus what.
Absolutely, man, because like there's freedom in that. Right? Like there's freedom in that. You can literally set certain boundaries. You can literally stop trying to fit in. You can literally stop feeling like, am I too dedicated? Am I too driven? Am I not driven enough? No, you decide what you want. Decide who you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Because that will decide how your drive goes. That will decide what you do on the weekends. That will decide, like, your whole life should be predicated on who you want to be. But we've always put the emphasis on what and things. What do I want to have? Mm-hmm. Well, no, first question is, who do you want to be? Because guess what? If you want to be this type of person, you'll probably never have that. Well, but you want that and you don't, and you.
I think that goes back to what you were saying about being young, right? Because even when you think about and I put this in air quotes, the plans you have for when you turn 30 and whatever the case may be, if you really thought about that type of conversation that you were having with yourself, it really wasn't about what you were going to accomplish. It was about what you were going to have.
Yeah, for sure. Especially coming from poverty.
I'm gonna have this house, you know what I mean? I'm gonna have that car. I'm gonna have this much money in the bank. It was really all about that. It really had nothing to do with who you are as a person. And even if you look at it as, whatever you thought your profession would be, you probably chose that profession because of what you thought it could give you.
Yeah.
On a materialistic level.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. Like, my whole life up until, I don't know, maybe 25 was all predicated on those questions. You felt like a failure if you didn't know what you wanted. You know what I'm saying? Like, you felt like you was just lost in the sauce. You know what I'm saying? Like my whole life was predicated off that until I started reframing how I'm asking these questions to myself. Right. And this is, like I said, this is something I spent some time with, but for some reason, like it just hit different when you're at different stages in your life.
Yeah,
especially when,
you're in another grade.
Is that, but I think at some point the things around you start to conflict. Because if you don't know who you want to be, but you're chasing after something. Okay, let me put a perfect example. Okay. Me and my wife got married young. You know this, but I'm just letting the people know, right? We dated at teenagers. I was 17 when we started dating. We met at I was 15 when we met. Mm-hmm. We started dating at 17. Neither one of us knew what we were going to be, who we were going to be, what we wanted to have when we met. Like that, you know what I'm saying? We did know, okay, we both were aligned with, okay, we want to get married one day. We want to build a family one day. But as we grew, she wanted to do certain things that weren't what she wanted to do when I first met her. Then I wanted to do certain things. I wasn't no entrepreneur. I didn't know what entrepreneurship was when I met her. You see what I'm saying? Like I wasn't exposed to this as a kid. So then once I started going down that path, especially once I went full time into business, like coming from the military or whatever, there was a conflict there because I hadn't decided who I wanted to be all the way. And she was still expecting me to be who I was. You see what I'm saying? Like I am coming home after work because I was getting all my stuff done at work. Don't tell nobody. You know what I'm saying? Like I was writing books at work, doing all type of stuff, right? But I was getting my work done at a high level, so nobody could say nothing to me, right? But I had to recalibrate and I had to rethink about it. Like I had to sit down with her. Like, this is who I want to be. I want to be ... When you met me, I was not these things, so I can understand if you are not okay with these things. Right? I understand. So where can we meet a middle ground? Because this is who I want to be. This is who you want to be. You got certain things that you want to do, and you weren't doing those things when we first met. So now we got to recalibrate and say, who do we want to be? Once we both decided who we wanted to be, we give each other space and there's freedom there. You see what I'm saying? Like she gives me the space that I need in order to get whatever I need done. And then I can transition to give her the space that she needs to get, and vice versa. But if we never had that conversation, you see what I'm saying? Like even within, we just had this conversation last week for the church. Who do we want to be?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And once we figured that out, it seems like ideas and all type of stuff just started to come. I'm telling you, y'all, if y'all not hearing nothing else, I'm passionate. Y'all don't see, I'm passionate about that. I sat up. I had to sit up. I had my legs kicked up. You know what I'm saying? I'm passionate about this because I feel like if we can lead with that at a young age, like, you know, I'm going back to the schools. This is the first thing I'm starting with. Who? Not what? Listen, I don't care what y'all choose. Who do you want to be? As a man, as a woman, who? I'm sorry, man.
No, I get it. So that's one of the things that I'm working through with some of my coaching clients, man. And we talked about this before, that the irony of not just my style of coaching, but my niche for coaching, it's really corporate pastoring almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But one of the things that I'm working through with my coaching clients is helping them to really, really see the difference. Because when you've got a group of people, a generation, even individuals whom have not been taught the difference between who I want to be and what I want to be, right? Like there comes a level of difficulty because we're having this conversation already having an understanding of the difference.
Yeah.
But and you mentioned this earlier, many of us have been conditioned that they're the same, right? So as I'm working with coaching clients, of course, you could probably imagine, as we're establishing goals, one of the things that I hear the most is like, you know, I want to be good financially. So then I have to stop them, and I'm like, well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And they then start to say things like, I want to have so much money in the bank, or, I want to be debt free, or, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so as we dig deeper into the conversations, what I try to help them understand is when you set a goal like that, there's multiple ways to accomplish this goal. You can take an individual like you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in order to accomplish your financial goals, you're willing to live with literally the bare minimums.
Yeah.
So technically, if you want a certain amount of money in the bank by a certain time, it doesn't necessarily require you to make more money.
Right.
Another way to reach that is to spend less.
Yeah.
So the question then becomes, are you willing to do without certain things to put yourself in this financial position?
Yeah.
If the answer to that is no, then you have to make more money. The problem is, if I give you more money, do you have the information, the discipline, and the knowledge to say, well, because what happens with most of us is, I give you more money, that just means you spend more. So you still in the same spot.
Yeah.
Right. And a lot of that comes with the fact that most people have not been taught the difference. Because if the same way I said what you ask somebody is, what do you do or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
If somebody asks you who you are, how many times have you been in a job interview? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
The first thing you start saying are the things that you do. Because we've been conditioned
to think like that.
That what we do is who we are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Bruh, I want to go back to what you just said, right? Because I want to dissect this, right? Because this is very important. When you said, like, I'm willing to go with the bear in order to get to whatever, right? This all goes back to because I decided who I want to be. Now, here's the thing that you got to understand. That's not a lifelong thing.
Right.
You know what you're saying? Me taking a back seat. I'm going to be real with you. That's a 5-year plan. That's a 5-year plan. And honestly, we ahead of schedule for that. So here's the thing. I decided when we first started the business, I knew all my money was going to have to go back in. I'm starting this thing from nothing. You see what I'm saying? Like, I sold my own shoes. I started with $20. I didn't have no investors. If y'all heard anything, any of the other stuff we put out, I lost $7,000 in the beginning of the business that I thought we were going to use to build the business. It didn't work out that way. So I had to sell all my stuff. I had to use whatever little bit of money I had left to put into the business to grow the business. So instantly I'm thinking to myself, if I want to grow this business, I got to stop caring about how I look and how I look to other people. I got to stop caring about when the homies is on vacation and I can't go. But most people are not okay with that. They want to still do those things, and they're literally eating the harvest that they're supposed to be building. So we decided we're going to take the step back. And even still, I decided I'm going to take more of a step back than my wife and my kids have to take. And that's important too. My wife, she's down with the business, but she has a different mindset as far as like what she wants to be able to do. And I understand that. Why work so hard and then not be able to enjoy any of it. So I'm not on that end of the spectrum. But for myself, I don't care nothing about shopping. I don't care nothing about no vacation. I don't care about none of that stuff. The only thing I care about is what happens in these first 5 years, because these first 5 years are detrimental. They're literally what, if you can do the right things in the first 5 years, I will be able to live whatever life I want to live. I know that. I can see the number. You see what I'm saying? I know the numbers. I put together strategies. And these strategies are working. I know how much I need to sell. I know how much I need to get. I know the connections I need to make. I know these things. And I understand that that's going to at least take 5 years. but you can't even be comfortable with giving yourself 5 years because you don't know who you want to be.
Well,
I'm okay with it.
You don't know what you're giving 5 years to.
You don't know what you're exactly. So like you said, there's different ways to approach it. I took a step back, but guess what? There's only so far you could take a step back. At some point, you got to make more money. At some point. But my first year, I knew that I'm hand to mouth with this. I'm sell for 50, put 40 back in. Sell for, you see what I'm saying? Over and over and over and over and over. And like I said, we started with $20. Now we got over $20,000 of inventory. How do you go from that to that in a 2 years time frame? Right. You got to be okay with who you decided you wanted to be, because that took however amount of money, you see what I'm saying, to put in that joint.
Now let me jump into this, because
I'm hyped.
You brought up the Builder series.
Yes, sir.
You brought up the Builder series, and the last installment of the Builder series was to stick to the plan. So,
that's the last joint.
No, that was the most recent, like the last.
Oh, okay. I was about to say, dang, that's a world premiere right there. I didn't even know. He didn't drop the bomb.
No, I mean last is in most recent. That was the last.
Okay.
Yeah, it's to stick to the plan. So much like what we're seeing, because the last 2 weeks we've been in Nehemiah chapter 6. He's rebuilding the wall. He's refusing. You said you seeing your homies on vacation. He's seeing people. He refusing to come down off the wall. Can't come down off the wall, even through opposition. So you had a 5-year plan, or have a 5-year plan, and you've decided to stick to that plan because you know what God has put in you, right? And you've made the decision for determination to be that, right? And so, but I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm saying pretty sure because there might be somebody listening that doesn't know the story. But I know for a fact that there were a few times where things happen in your life, business related and personal, where you really could have come down off the wall.
Oh,
and some people would say that you should have.
Yeah, most people.
Most people would say that you should have. But that's the thing. The Bible says that he who has begun a good work in you shall continue it until the day of Jesus Christ. So what all that means is, like, and I think I said this past Sunday, as long as God is still working on you, you should be working for him. And
that was a bar, and we got to write that down. Hold on. All right, go ahead, keep going, though.
And I've said this before. It's a slap in the face to God for you to not be everything he's created you to be.
Yeah. Say that bar again. As long as
God is working on you, you should be working for him.
Okay. I had to write it
down. So what can you imagine getting to the pearly gates and God being like, yeah, your name's in the book, man. Come on in. The angel standing at the gate. Come on in. Your name's in the book. And then, you go through the gate and God hits you with the, hey, fam, come here real quick. Hey, look, you made it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You here?
I put all of this, and he just starts showing you this. I put all of this in you.
Mm-hmm.
Why you? But you ain't even use none of it.
Yeah.
I put all of this in you. I gave you this much time, and essentially, eventually, I just had to be like, you know what? Listen, just come on.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having to?
I don't even want to.
I'm not saying that's what happens in heaven, because somebody.
Right.
Somebody listening.
You gotta say that. You gotta say that because somebody gonna take that.
Somebody gonna try to take that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine having to stare God in the face and been like, I mean, I knew it was there, but every time I tried to use it, something happened.
Nah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a slap in the face to God to not be everything He's created you to be.
It is.
So really, really, when we talk about sticking to the plan and not coming down off the wall, it's really not for your sake. I mean, it's for your benefit, but it's for God's sake.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And I think what makes that easier is the vision that God gives you and how that develops over time. Because the more you stay on whatever you're doing, the vision develops. Like what I saw in the beginning is not what I'm seeing now. It's not even nowhere near what I'm seeing now. You see what I'm saying? And you can attribute, you can say it's because of this or because of that or because of some of the things that you read or whatever, but it's really not that. It's really the duration that you've been willing to endure to get to certain points that God starts to show you different things, because not that you got to prove yourself to him because God knows everything. You see what I'm saying? But you got to prove yourself to yourself that you're going to stick around long enough. God ain't about to show you everything and you ain't even decided or committed if you're going to stay or not. You see what I'm saying? Now, God knows what you're going to do in the end, but you don't know yet. And I think sometimes if he shows you too much, that can be a hindrance to where you go, because it's like, yo, I don't know if I can do all that now. You see what I'm saying? But as God showed me, like, this vision that I got now is so, like, I wouldn't dare, like, I would have to die. Like, that's literally what's gonna have to happen. Like, I don't like you talked about too, like you alluded to too. Bro, we could have lost our house in the beginning of this thing. And listen to this. In business, you can still lose. And here's another thing not even just in business. Sometimes in life, you just lose. You could do everything right. I posted this on my Instagram from Jim Rohn, right? He was talking about just from a biblical perspective and just a life perspective. You can do everything right and still lose. A farmer plants all these seeds. Some of them get ate by cicadas. Some of them get ate by grasshoppers. He didn't do nothing wrong. Every day he was doing the right stuff. Every day he was tilling the soil. Every day he planted the seeds. Every day he was watering them joints. Every single day he didn't do nothing wrong. He was faithful to his wife. He was faithful to his kids, and he still lost. And sometimes that's what life is about. Sometimes it's that. But if you decide, I hope y'all can hear that. If you decide who you want to be, guess what? This farmer keeps farming. I know that ain't the right word for it, but the farmer keeps farming.
Yeah, no, that's true. And the Bible even talks about, with the analogy of farming, like the Bible even talks about, like when you're planting stuff and when you're spreading the seed, some of it don't even make it to the dirt,
bruh. And it may be a good majority of it, honestly. Like, think about it. I was gonna say, think about a farmer throwing all those seeds out there. You're gonna get a nice harvest, but think about how much of it, like you said, didn't even go into the soil for real. Got ate soon as you turned your back, soon as you turned around. That's just how life is.
Man, listen to this. Here's a perfect example of what you're saying. Just yesterday, just yesterday, I put some weed and feed or weed and seed, whatever it is, and my little cedar thing, you know what I mean, to get my grass, you know what I mean, get my grass together. And so I had done it already. And as it began to work, check this out. That we know the cedar, it has a thing in there, and it spreads the seed out when you roll, right?
Yep.
So I had done it before, and watch this. I could see the spots that I missed because my grass was two different colors. So where all of the seed was going, that grass was dark green, thick, healthy. Then I had this bright, thin green, these patches. So I could tell that the seed didn't make it where I thought it made it to.
Right.
So I go out yesterday, hit it again, and I realized that as this seed is spreading, some of it is bouncing into the concrete. There's nothing that this is going to be able to do on the concrete.
Can't do nothing with it.
But I went out there and did what I was supposed to do.
Yeah.
But
And you
sometimes,
can't even help that. And and that, like, even where we are right now, like think about it as a church, right? We ain't doing nothing. We ain't doing nothing wrong or not. You know what I'm saying. But we're still in this space where it's like, okay, what's the next move? You see what I'm saying? You're still in this. You ain't done nothing wrong. We ain't out here doing some crazy stuff. But we're still like, yo, what's the next? And I think honestly, okay, we talked about deciding who you want to be, and we might have to do a whole nother podcast on this, especially since we're in the builder series. I think the hardest part about being a builder, the hardest part about even after you decided who you want to be, is that middle. And let me preface this before we even go into it. The middle does not mean that you're literally like halfway, because sometimes we think the middle is halfway. The middle can be you're in the midst of a smaller goal, and now it's the middle part. You see what I'm saying? Like the middle is whenever you gotta look and say, yo, I don't know how I got this far, but I don't know where you see what I'm saying? Like you kind of in that wilderness space where it's the middle. And I think the middle is what scares people the most. Sometimes if you got enough courage to start, eventually you'll be able to see down the road 10 years, right? It's the middle that's hard. It's the middle that I have you discouraged.
I mean, you seen that just with, the children of Israel, right? They look back, and I'm not enslaved in Egypt anymore.
Right.
I ain't in the promised land either.
Yeah. I'm in the middle.
And I can't see where the promised land is. I've been kind of wandering around, and I'm wondering if this promised land even exists. Will we ever make it? But I'm not. Yeah. I'm not in slavery no more. I'm not in Egypt enslaved anymore.
Right.
But I'm not in the promised land either. But I would say this to that, man. I would say this to that. What I don't disagree that the hardest part is the middle. Mm-hmm. What I want to add is the easiest way to get through the middle is the beginning. Because the beginning,
break that down.
Because the beginning is the foundation. So watch this. Have you ever seen the foundation of your house?
Never.
Have you ever seen the foundation of any house?
Never. Nope.
Because it's the first thing that's put down. Mm-hmm. So you never see it. It's never exposed. You don't see the foundation. But if there's something wrong with the foundation, that's going to show.
Yeah, you're going to know then. Yeah.
You're going to know if the foundation wasn't right. Yeah. Because the house can't stand.
Yeah. It's going to have some stuff is going to start falling apart for sure.
It's going to start falling apart. So the easiest way to get through the middle is to have the strong foundation that when the wind blows, when the hail storms, when the bird, I had a bird lay a nest inside of my dryer vent. You know,
I remember that.
Like, so when all of that stuff starts to happen, what keeps the house standing is the foundation.
Yeah.
So I think the easiest way to get through the middle is to spend more time, effort, and energy, resources on the foundation.
Yeah.
Because watch this, even once a house is considered condemned and we're going to just tear it down and rebuild it, very rarely do they dig up the foundation.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
I'll tear all the rest of it down.
Yeah, they bust it down. They'll knock it down, but they ain't about to go all the way down to the ground.
But this foundation, I can build on this foundation.
Yeah, you can build on top of that again. Yeah. That's a bar. That's a bar right there. That's a bar. Go back to your foundation. And I think right now what we're talking about is the relationship between deciding who you want to be and your assignment. Right? Because like at what point will you feel like that you know your assignment? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like at what point? Because I think deciding who you want to be sometimes can come before or after. I don't know. Let me take that back. Because your assignment is here before you're here.
let me say this. Let me say this to that. And this just let me say this to that. I think the decision about deciding who you want to be is honestly less about deciding who I want to be and more about deciding that I will be that. And I know that sounds weird, but here's what I'm saying. I believe that we were given, to your point, an assignment, a purpose. Yep. We were created to be someone.
Absolutely.
So really, who I want to be, that's really more of a revelation than it is a decision. Mm-hmm. Like I was created to do this.
Yep.
I was created to be this. You see what I'm saying? That's a it's a hold on, I'm seeing something that I don't like. That's but then once that has been revealed to you, once it's been revealed to you, you can then decide that that's what I'm going to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because you get to talk about destiny, you get to talk about purpose, you get to talk about assignment. Like you said, this has all been established.
Yeah.
Before you were ever born. So what essentially what we're needing is that's why it's easy to say I decided I wanted to be this person, but if you really think about it, I would almost bet that there was like this aha moment that like, you know what? No, this is who I am. Mm-hmm. Like it's revelation. And then the decision is no matter what, I'm going to be that.
Yeah. Yep.
No matter what, I'm going to be this version of Destry. No matter what, I'm going to be this version of Jordan. No matter what, that's the decision. That's the determination.
Yeah. And I think once you come to that decision, that, that space, you can align everything with that. You see what I'm saying? So like, even what we talked about last week in the church, like I even told you, like, I think this is what I can offer, this perspective, this lens, and it all aligns with me realizing who and here's the funny thing. Like I had wrote this down. I forgot to say it. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not the biblical scholar here, right? But I feel like, you said what?
Neither am I.
Right? Yeah, you way further than I am. Listen, I'm an associate's degree. You know what I'm saying? You going on to get your master's. You know, but or I got a certificate. You on the bachelor's. But the Bible spends a lot of time talking about who. I don't think the Bible ever talks about what you want to be. The Bible tells you who you are. You see what I'm saying? It tells you you're a child of God. You're this, you're that. You know what I'm saying? It tells you those things. It tells you have a gift. It tells you who you are versus what. You see what I'm saying? So I think, and I totally forgot where I was going with that. Honestly, I'm not even going to lie to y'all.
I'll pick up for you.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think I know you're right with what you're saying. I think that the emphasis on the what came from the fact it came as a what's the word I'm looking for? People were trying to make up for the fact that they didn't know who they were. So they decided either they didn't know or they didn't like who they were. So they decided, I'm going to become this. I'm going to become that.
And man, what you're saying is so important because like you said, like how many people are on the what, but not the who, and doing something that's not even who. You see who they are. You see what I'm saying? Like you're success. And that's the thing. Like I think people oftentimes judge the success off of it. You see what I'm saying? Like I'm successful at this, so this must be who I am or who I'm supposed to be. And you could be successful at something that God never planned for you to do.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like you could be successful at that. Like I had this dream of being the speaker and being all these different things. And And it's like, now I look back at that and I'm like, that's not who I was. Now, can I do those things? Absolutely. But this is who I am, and that's going to be what I do from who I am, if that makes sense, right? So I don't never think that I'm not going to be doing speeches again, but they're going to be based off of entrepreneurship. When I go back to the school, I was out to school for a year. When I go back to the school, guess what? Guess what we're talking about? You see what I'm saying?
Here's what I'm learning. Here's what I'm learning. What you're passionate about isn't automatically what you're purposed for.
No, not at all. Not at all. Yep, I had to learn that.
And so that's the kingdom side, right?
Yeah.
The business side or the professional side is everything you're passionate about isn't your profession. So there are some people who are in these positions. They're in these jobs. They have these positions, and they're trying to implement things that they're passionate about into these positions. And fam, that's not what this is for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your profession, your job is to do this, not that. Now, if you're passionate about it, you can do that in your private time.
Right.
But that's you can't make this profession be your passion if it's not.
Yeah.
Now, there are some people who have been blessed for their passion, purpose, and profession to all be in one place.
Mm-hmm. But oftentimes you got to create that.
I was going to say, and if I'm being honest, I feel like I'm in that place right now.
Yep.
But to your point, it took a while.
Yeah. And you had to create that.
A lot of stuff I didn't want to do.
Bruh.
In the meantime, I had to, and then I had to be bold enough to say, you know what? I'm willing to do this, and this. I'm not willing to do that, and that. Are we on the same page? Can this work?
Yep.
Because what would have happened, I would have found myself in another situation where they didn't align if I wouldn't have made those things clear.
Mm-hmm. And that alignment is so important, man. It just is. You see what I'm saying? Like when I decided this is who I am, I also decided I'm not doing nothing that requires me to come out of that. Mm-hmm. Because it's not going to be who I am. It's not who I am.
Yep.
I'm not doing nothing that requires like I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. I don't care how. I don't got the shiny object syndrome. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't have no problem with that. Right? I decided that if I can't bring this to the table for wherever I go, then I just don't belong there. You know what I'm saying?
I just had a conversation. It was either yesterday or the day before yesterday. The program director that I work under was like, hey, we're working on some stuff to extend your position for at least another 3 to 5 years. And he was like, I don't know if you'll want to stay in the position for another 3 to 5 years, but at least it'll be there. Right. And so I was like, well, this is literally what I told him. And if you tuning in late, we mentioned this before. I never know what the topics are going to be. I don't know where the conversation is going. But I literally said this to him. I said, listen, I enjoy it. I said, as long as this position continues to allow me the freedom to work and my purpose outside of here, mm-hmm. and as long as I'm still passionate about what I'm doing while I'm here, I'll stay.
Yeah.
I literally just had this conversation yesterday.
Because they have to align.
But the moment I'm not passionate about doing this, or it's taking away from what I've been called to do, mm-hmm. I would be doing a disservice to me and you.
Yeah.
I stand.
Man, it's so important to have that alignment, man. Because just think about how many times people, you got to come out, you got to wear this hat and that hat and that hat and that hat. Figure out who you are and be that. Because that's what your purpose to be anyways. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't like what I said, like I didn't know what entrepreneurship was when I was a kid. And it's probably a good thing. It's probably the way things happen are the way things are supposed to happen. I'm never going to be like, well, God, why didn't you put somebody, never that. But the seeds were planted, right? Mm-hmm. But my entire life, I've been on problem solving in a different type of way, or negotiating, always negotiating. Or my mom, if I do this, and this, can I do this? Oh yeah, okay, cool. You see what I'm saying? Like I was always doing those things. I was always finding ways around things. I was always doing those things. I told the story before about like the dudes that own the shoe store behind my mom's house, how I bring them food, they give me a discount on the shoes. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been doing those things. This is who I was from the beginning. I'm just now realizing in the last whatever years, this is who I am, but this is who I was.
It's revelation.
You see, exactly. But this is who I was the whole time. And
so you get the revelation of who you are, and then you make the decision that I'm going to be the absolute best version of that.
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter at what age you come to that conclusion. Because some people might be listening to this right now and be like, well, man, I'm 50 years old. I'm whatever. Like it's too late for me. And it's not. Because once you decide, that's when it begins again. That's when it begins for you. You see what I'm saying? And that's when you're able to spark another flame. Because like I said, every person I come into contact with, especially from a young person perspective, when I go back to the schools, I'm asking, who do you want to be?
Man, listen, if it was too late, and this is real talk, this ain't spooky, spiritual, whatever.
Yeah.
It's real. If it was too late, you'd be dead.
You'll be done. You'll be done.
Once it's over with for purpose, why would God keep you here after you? So if it was too late, you'd already be gone.
For sure. And that's important to say. That's important to say. Man, I had a, and we'll talk offline about this, but like, I'm really starting to realize when we're going back to who we are, I'm really starting to realize that some of the stuff that I think about, like from a business perspective, strategy, like, it's not just like normal stuff that anybody thinks of. Like something, because you know how sometimes you're way sweeter than what you think you are a lot of times, now, especially if you're not a person that's driven by your ego. You see what I'm saying? Like you may realize after you start having conversations with people, some of the ideas that you have, that you realize that this is a gifting. This is what I'm trying to get at. You realize that this is a gifting versus you just being good at something, or you sharpening your skill at something. Mm-hmm. Like we had this conversation before, like who I was 2 years ago as an entrepreneur is totally different. And like I said, a lot of people will say, well, yeah, you read all those books. Yeah, you took the course, or you did that. No, those things help cultivate the gift. But the gift was there from when God said the gift was there. You see what I'm saying? The gift was passed down from whatever age or whenever, from birth, whatever. And I want people to walk away with that, like it's there. You see what I'm saying? It's always been there, like, because you know how you said you come to that revelation, or revelation, but the revelation is not the start of it. No. It's actually just you
understanding of it.
Right. It's you becoming conscious of it.
Yeah, becoming aware.
But it's been there.
For sure.
It's been there, man. But like I said, man, I think we're going to have to really dissect that middle, the next episode, because we an hour strong right now, man. But listen, I enjoyed this episode. I'm going to be honest with you. I enjoyed this podcast right here because it's not every day where you can have these discussions, period, let alone in an environment like this, let alone in an environment where you could talk about business and ministry at the same time. And that's why we're doing this podcast, y'all. We want y'all to understand, like, they don't got to be separate. Now, you can't approach a ministry and look at people as money or look at people as profit, but you shouldn't be doing that in business anyways.
Yeah.
To be honest, the ministry aspect is a part of the character in business. If you want to be honest, you should be looking to serve, even in business. Now, the currency is different.
For sure.
In ministry, the currency is life given to Christ. In ministry is life change. In ministry is life development. In business, it is profits. It is it's still change. It's still what you say?
Monetary.
It's monetary because it has to be, or you can't, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it should still be lives impacted. It should still be those things. If you're just hoarding money, there's something wrong fundamentally. You know what I'm saying? So this podcast is literally the bridge between the two. That's why we call it the Kingdom Business Podcast. This is for Christian entrepreneurs. This is for the Christian. This is for anyone who's on their journey, whatever journey that may be. I said it in the beginning of the podcast. I don't know how you make it anywhere in life without God. I don't want to know, because I feel like I know for a fact I couldn't have. We could sit here and talk about all the ideas in the world. All those ideas, I chalk that up to Holy Spirit, because I wasn't thinking about these before. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like I just had these sweet ideas before I got serious about my relationship with God. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So as we close this out, man, any closing remarks, anything you want to add before we end this podcast today?
Nah, man, I would just say, man, we just got to make sure that we keep building. You know what I mean? Stick to the plan.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? We started off the series with, I can't stop now. You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep going. That's the only way you make it to destiny. You know what I'm saying? It's the only way you make it to completion. That's the only way, is to keep going. You know what I mean? And don't allow, frustrations and confusion and fatigue and all of these things to cause you to deter from the plan, because, like we've alluded to a couple of times in this episode, that the plan was already set. But, God says, before you were in your mother's womb, I knew you. I predestined you. I preordained you to be who you are. So we just got to stick to the plan and let God be God, while we continue to work toward being the best version of ourselves, which is the version that He created us to be.
Yeah, and for my closing remarks, I would say do the work that it takes to get to this revelation, right? Do the work that it takes, because we talking about what, 29 years, and I'm coming to this really being okay with that, really digging deep into that. Like I said, that's a question I've been kind of asking myself for years, but for some reason this last year, it just makes so much sense to really define it. And once you get to that point, and it may not take you that long, it may not take you that long. After this podcast, you may sit down with a pen and a pad and you figure out. But do that, because it's so important. You got to stop going through life just being whoever. You got to stop going through life just doing whatever. Just doing things that have no purpose, or they have a purpose, but they're not your purpose. Let me put it like that. They have a purpose, you paying your bills. They have a purpose, you feeding your kid. You know what I'm saying? They have a purpose, but is it your purpose? Is it the thing that God is calling you to do? Because what we don't want to do, and I saw somebody post something like this, like, you don't want to be used by everybody but God. You know what I'm saying? You being used by your job. You see what I'm saying? You being used in all these other aspects. Let God use you as well. You may find yourself running a business that helps people. You know what I'm saying? Last year, you already know the shoes that we were able to keep out. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
We just bridging the gap right here. That's what I'm saying. So figure out who you want to be, and once you figure that out, be that. Be fully that.
The best version of that.
Be the absolute best version of that. And ask yourself every day. Like, it's not just a thing that you can ask yourself once. And I ask myself the question every day. Who do I want to be? Now the answers are the same.
Right.
But I gotta keep that in the forefront of my mind, because things are going to happen. And then things are going to happen in life. We already know you're going to get smacked in the face. You're going to get knocked down. And then you're going to find yourself saying, you know what, today I just can't do. No, you said you wanted to be this. Get through this day.
Yeah.
Get through. You see what I'm saying? Still put up the points.
Let me add this real quick. Just real quick. Because you say you ask yourself that every day. I would say for the people listening, if you're gonna ask yourself that every day, just even as a reminder, right? If you're gonna do that, you also need to be asking yourself, now, am I doing what it takes to be that?
Yep. We can end on that one. Am I doing what it takes? Yeah. Because that's activity. That's activity. It's one thing to know. It's another thing to do. Yeah, man. That's important. That's important. I think it was a good podcast. Well, this one gonna go out, y'all. I promise.
To be out.
It's going out this time, man. But listen, we're gonna see you on another episode of the Kingdom Business Podcast. But do not forget Sundays at 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. Abundant Faith Church, our worship experience, y'all. We taking it to a whole nother level. You want to be a part of what's going on. And listen, y'all, this is not just church, right? We a family, right? This is not just church. This is a whole movement, right? It's not just church. Like, I know some of it like, well, I'm in church. No, listen, it ain't just church, right? Yeah, the word goes forth, but it ain't just church. It's a family. It's a movement, and we want you to be a part of it unapologetically, like our pastor always says. On Wednesdays, y'all. On Wednesdays. Last night we got recharged, right? Last night, that's what we call the Wednesday Bible study, the recharge. Once again, it's not just something that's like your ordinary Bible study. No, we literally dissecting the message. We're literally going in, getting some things that we can apply. We're walking away with things that we can apply. We're not just walking away and then thinking, oh, well, I remember verse number 5 of no, that ain't what we're doing. That ain't what we're doing. We're walking away better than what we came. We're walking away recharged. So y'all, set your calendars, set your reminders. 10 a.m. on Sundays, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. right here on this YouTube channel, and also on Facebook Live, Abundant Faith Christian Church. Spotify as well. Oh man, I forgot to plug. We're gonna put all this stuff in the show notes, y'all. Don't even worry about it. But we do have Spotify. You can listen to this podcast, every sermon, Bible studies, the recharge, I should say. You can listen to all those things right there on our Spotify. As a matter of fact, we may be making an announcement soon of a little network that we got coming very, very, very soon. But that's neither here nor there. Subscribe to the Spotify. Very important. You can listen to it at your desk. You can listen to it on your drive. You can listen to it whenever you want to listen to it. It's there. Anything else for the housekeeping?
No, I'm all set, man.
All right. So we will see you next week on the Kingdom Business Podcast. Peace.